The Hawks are looking at the rest of the Eastern Conference and going, who are we scared of? Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Hard Foul Radio. Appreciate you for tuning in today. This is the show that values time. I value mine. You should value yours. So I appreciate you spending some of that value time here with me today. So let's get started. Sometimes when I'm trying to think of topics for a show, sometimes they're hard. Sometimes they're easy, depending on the time of the year that we're in. Obviously right now with the playoffs, it's usually an easier time for topics. But even when you've got playoff games going on and you've got headlines, even not in the current playoff sport, you got headlines like Aaron Rodgers, what's going on with Green Bay. Some shows just write themselves. And then there's nights like last night where my show was written immediately after the game is over. We're coming in here to give credit. A lot of sportscasters and broadcasters come in and criticize, and that's fair in some degree. Coming in here criticizing Giannis and the Bucks the way they lost Game 5. I'm okay with that. But just as much as you can come in and criticize, you should also be willing to come in and give respect and give props. Who's the most criticized player in the NBA the past 3 to 4 years? We always joke about this on the Real Big Three. Paul George is a established NBA player who is probably going to get Hall of Fame votes. And you guys know how I feel about the NBA Hall of Fame. I'm not saying Paul George is a Hall of Famer, but Paul George will get some Hall of Fame votes. Paul George is a 7-time All-Star, has a bunch of credentials, is a really good player. And don't forget, coming into last season, the general consensus was him and Kawhi Leonard was enough to get the Clippers to a championship. Paul George is really good. I tweeted yesterday, despite conventional wisdom, I got the Clippers tonight. And that's because despite conventional wisdom that, oh, no Kawhi Leonard, how would the Clippers do it? They've only got Paul George. Playoff P, always no good. At some point, if you criticize and criticize and criticize and criticize the guy, and you keep hitting the guy and pushing him down, eventually he gets back up and hits back. And this Clippers team, we've said it for the past 2 years, they are deep. They are talented. Yes, Kawhi Leonard is clearly the best player on that team. But this roster is deep. Paul George is a really good player. Ty Lue has shown to be better for this team than Doc Rivers was. Not saying he's a better coach, but has shown to be a better coach for these situations. And Paul George came out in a Game 5 that no one expected them to win. No one expected them to win, which is part of the reason why I tweeted what I did, is because even though Utah is a play hard, well-coached team, you could even kind of tell from the first quarter the way they were playing is, oh, we're going to just knock these guys out real quick, and with no Kawhi Leonard and Paul George not being that guy, we'll just knock them out in the first quarter and they'll give up. Utah's trying to hit a lot of threes and a lot of momentum threes. You see a lot more guys take the three that's, a couple feet behind the three-point line. It's a more regular shot now, and they're essentially just trying to knock you out and knock you out immediately out of the game. And the Clippers just never got knocked out. And Paul George just kept playing and playing and playing. Paul George deserves a lot of credit for last night. And let's be clear. Paul George isn't Kawhi Leonard. No one's saying that. I'm not sure if the Clippers win the series. But just last night was the epitome of you keep knocking a guy down. You keep saying what he can't do. Eventually he will get back up and he will show you what he can. It's also a difference in talent. You see the night before what Kevin Durant, a possibly top 15 to 20 player of all time, did. Well, Paul George isn't capable of that. Paul George was able to give you 37 points, played a lot of minutes, gave you great defense. The Clippers role players all got together. They were hitting threes. Reggie Jackson was huge. Marcus Morris was huge. Batum was huge. Everything that we've gotten to see about this team, everything that we've heard about this team, and they culminated into one night without their best player. The Clippers deserve respect. The Clippers deserve props. Going over to our other series, the Sixers and Hawks. This is one I'm going to give props to the Hawks. Trae Young is special. This core group of players, this is one of the few things, and you guys know I hate giving compliments to these two in particular. This might be the most right Tony has ever been about a sports pick. Tony's been saying over the last couple years, over the last couple drafts, man, look out for Atlanta. Man, look out for Atlanta. Man, look out for Atlanta. They got Collins and they got Herter, if I'm saying it correctly, and they got Trae Young. Like, Atlanta's really got something building there. They got something going. They're going to be scary in a couple years. Now, I'm not the draft guy. You know this. I'm not the big college guy. You know this. That's not what I'm staking my claim on. So I just always kind of was like, okay, Tony really likes these guys coming out. Cool. But after watching last night, I was like, yeah, I got to give props to Tony. This team looks, between what Collins was doing, Herter was doing, obviously what Trae Young was doing, this Atlanta team They look special. They look like they are ready to take it. I love when guys don't look scared. There's guys who play matchups all the time, play other teams in the playoffs all the time, where they probably shouldn't win. They're not the best team. They're not the for sure favorites, but they put their head down and they bust their ass and they show up to play and they're not scared about them. The ultimate example of this is Allen Iverson. And we know the ultimate climax of this example is the 0-1 finals. And AI and that Sixers team had no business being in the finals, and they had no business beating the Lakers at all. That's why even though it was a 4-1 series, that game one is so memorable. Allen Iverson is 6 feet tall, and Kobe, Shaq, at that Lakers roster, like, he wasn't supposed to be there, and he took game one and was the dominant force in game one. Trae Young's not supposed to beat Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. We go into this series, all the preview was Ben Simmons is going to lock Trae Young down. Oh, what's Trae going to do? Oh, Ben Simmons is too big. The Sixers are too big. Who's going to stop Embiid? And night after night. And the Sixers, they've had leads in several of these games, and they're still losing them. Big leads, 20-point leads. And then the Hawks just chip away and chip away and chip away. Trae Young, Collins, Herter, Clint Capella, who's been a great addition. Obviously, he wasn't a draft. He was traded there. The Hawks are looking at the rest of the Eastern Conference and going, who are we scared of? There's no LeBron here. There's no Kawhi Leonard here. Giannis in the playoffs, I don't know if people are scared of him. Brooklyn, health issues? Are you never... Like, give Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks the entire organization from drafting to developing to the coaching and the coaching decision to put Nate McMillan in charge. This is an organization doing everything right the last 4 or 5 years. This is what a rebuild looks like. This is what a rebuild done well looks like. And now they're 1 win away from the Eastern Conference Finals. And let's wrap up our Eastern Conference and our playoff series. Everyone's come out the last 48 hours and shit on the Milwaukee Bucks. And I'm not upset with if you criticized the Bucks. Obviously there was things that they did that I didn't like. Not double teaming Kevin Durant. Giannis was very passive and looked very frustrated in the fourth quarter, not double teaming Kevin Durant. And Drew Holiday played less than stellar. Not double teaming Kevin Durant, but Budenholzer I think had a horrible game as far as coaching and making adjustments. Not double teaming Kevin Durant, the guy who scored 49 points and was doing everything, was out there the whole time. He never left the game, so you saw where he started the game and you saw where he ended the game, and at no point did you double him. Maybe try it, but I do want to say I still think Milwaukee wins this series, because I don't think Kevin Durant has another one of those games in him. And that's not a critique of Kevin Durant. That is just, he played the best game of his life. Played all 48 minutes, and they needed all 48 minutes, all 49 points, all the assists, all the rebounds, just to win by 3. I feel real good if I'm Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee shouldn't feel good as far as the players go, because the way you lost, you shouldn't feel good about that, and you should be pissed and want to come out real strong in Game 6. But I want to put my stake on this now. Milwaukee in 7. Milwaukee just has to keep doing what Milwaukee has done. The only two things they need to adjust is, yes, being more aggressive when it comes to James Harden on defense and double team Kevin Durant. Can you do that? Can you do that, Milwaukee? Double team Kevin Durant, take advantage of James Harden on defense. That's it.